Yo, what's up, Ntege Nation? This is your boy Oscar Ntege again with yet another amazing video. In this particular video, I'm going to show you how to edit natural outdoor portraits.
It's a celebration of humanity, an accentuation of beauty and what humanity has accomplished. It is those who choose to create happiness in every moment of their being. The ones who are celebrated every day. Not because they are superstars, but because they matter. Oscar Ntege, tap into greatness.
Today we are editing Becky. She's a very beautiful girl. As you see, this is an outdoor portrait that was taken of her. Yes, we are going to make the skin tones pop. I'm going to show you how to color grade this whole thing and also smoothen out this skin to a way that it looks really glamorous. Without further ado, let's dive into this. As you see, it's already opened in Camera Raw, so we are first going to do the basic color grading. The first thing that I do before anything is removing what they call chromatic aberration, because I did not use really a very expensive lens, and when you look at this image, it has this kind of purple blue kind of linings. Now, if you don't know what chromatic aberration is, these greenish lines that come at the edges, they're not really very visible in this particular piece, but if you're shooting places that have a lot of textured things, you usually get this purple kind of lining you see at the edge. That is the first thing I remove, because I tend to forget a lot when I'm to remove this, and it makes the image look cheap. It's really a small change, but it makes a big difference on how your final image looks. So I first do that, and then I just click on that and it goes. I'll just zoom this in slightly for you so that you get to see what I'm talking about. You know, I don't know whether it will be visible on the screen, but you see that is when look at the edges with a chromatic aberration removal off, and once you click the remove, it automatically goes off. So the next thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to now come and do what they call calibration. Calibration is when you change the picture style of from the Adobe default to all the way to the picture style you used. What the picture style I used when I was shooting, I used a landscape picture style because I love my pictures a bit more colorful and pop. Yeah, if you want maybe like natural looking portraits, I would advise you going for the standard picture style, but for me, I'm a glamour kind of person, so I usually do the Adobe landscape because the pictures first of all are sharper and they look more popping. So I just turn it to landscape so that it just gets that vibe again. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to begin doing a little bit of light corrections. Yeah, we need to bring back the little bit of highlights. The background seems to be overly lit, so we need to pump it down a bit by bringing the highlights down, you know, just like that. I'll come here again on the whites and also pull the whites a bit down, you know. So I'm just going to bring up the shadows a bit, you know. Okay, and another tip, if every time you're doing natural light portraits, you have to make sure that the light is hitting the subject from the back so that the biggest part of the face is in shadow. That is why you see when I was shooting her, I made sure that her face was turned away from the sun so that I get more softer shadows within the face. You know, if I had turned her the other way around, the portrait would all have these very harsh shadows crossing her, like you see this kind of shadow crossing over here. Now imagine this in her face. These are really very hard to edit and not really flattering enough. So what we do, we're going to come and yes, enhance the shadows. Enough of the talking, just a little bit. Then we're going to come on the blacks. Usually I also brighten up the blacks, you know, just like that. And then the next thing I do, For this, I just increase the texture a little bit, just by like a 2-3 clarity, just to increase the amount of contouring. And then I come out here and say dehaze. Dehaze is what brings back those colors that I had really, you know, put down in blacks, just like a little bit there. Then a bit of vibrancy, and then we come and get a bit of saturation here. So when you look at this image, according to my test, it is very, very warm for me. So I'll just come and, you know, just put down this just a little bit. The magenta also seems to be a lot, so I'll just come and bring in a little bit of, that's just a little bit of the greens, just to trim down on the magentas. And so on the curves, that is where I work on the tonal values, but we're going to do all that in not the tonal values as such, but it is where I work on the feel, in terms of the tonal feel of the whole image, in that if I decide to make the highlights pop, you see it brings that kind of vibe to the image. But we are going to do this all in Photoshop. So with that is really the basic thing I do here. So the next thing I'm going to do is just turn this image to 16-bit, so that we increase the intensity of color. It helps when you're doing certain color effects, it helps you not to get the colors of your images crushed. So that is why I come here and just turn this whole thing into 16-bit, just to increase the intensity, the thickness of color. It gives me more color details to work with. So it becomes a bit heavy, but it is worth it. So the next thing I do is just go in Photoshop and click on open. Yes, just like that. Now we are going to come here and begin editing this particular image now that we are in Photoshop. So we're just going to come and duplicate this layer. So what are we going to do first? First of all, we're going to first remove these blemishes, just using the patch tool, you know, just using the patch tool, and you know, because we want her really popping, you know, by removing these dark patches. It's going to be really a bit fast, like that. Come and, you know, remove all this. She wasn't wearing any kind of makeup, but we're going to see how we bring this particular image to life. And you know, you see, such I wouldn't advise you to use a spot healing brush for doing such big patches, big spots. I would advise you use a patch tool, because it would give you better results. By the way, I have a retouching course coming up. It is going to be the most simplified, fully portrait retouching course. By the end of that course, you guys, you would be professional retouchers. I go step by step on how I do all my retouching images. The same course has I explain how I retouch different, you know, subjects, from corporate, from beauty shots, depending on the theme, weddings and all that stuff, detail per detail, you know. So be sure to subscribe to this channel, because a big announcement is really coming up. So we are done with the patch tool. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to merge these layers by pressing Ctrl, Shift and E, just to merge them together, because I hate working with a lot of layers. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to come and duplicate this twice. We are going to use a technique called frequency separation to, you know, to work on the skin tones. So this is going to be our tonal layer. and this is going to be our texture layer. For those of you who don't know what frequency separation is, basically frequency separation helps you separate tones, yeah, which is the color, the browns and the reds, the blues, those are the tones, from the textures. Textures, this is the pores, the hair and all that. So basically it separates the textures from the colors. So you're able to work on the colors alone and textures alone. You know, that is the beauty about frequency separation. So without further ado, let's dive into this. So I'll just press F on my keyboard so that I bring back the menu bar, just like that. So we're first going to work on the tonal layer. So you make sure this is you unsee this, and then we select the tonal layer. You come to filter, you say blur, you come and say Gaussian blur, and then everything now we want to retain in this upper texture layer is going to be blurred out. If you want to see me fully explain the frequency separation technique, just click on the link up there. I've explained it fully in detail, but for now just follow along, and then we come and just blur that just a little bit, yeah, until I don't see the texture no more, and say okay. So we come and say, yeah, image, apply image, say tonal layer, we come and say subtract 2, and then we say linear light. So now we've finished the frequency separation technique. What next are we going to do? The next thing we are going to do, we are going to try to match these tones before we go into the actual editing. So how do we do that? You just come and create, you click on the tonal layer and create a new layer just slightly above it, you know. So what do? We're going to just use the brush tool, this one here, and we begin painting in these particular, you know, spaces that seem to have a lot of, what should I say, that don't seem to have the same color as you know, the rest of the body. So what are we going to do? You just come, get your brush tool. We shall reduce the flow at around 15, then the opacity also at around 24. So the way we are going to do that, we are going to get a soft brush just right here, and then we're going to change the blending mode here. Since we want to brighten certain parts, we're going to use blending mode lighten. So you come, reduce the brush, and then you press your Alt key down just like that. Now for example, this part is a bit reddish and all that. I think it's sunburns or something. So you just come and press Alt and you click, select a color, and then you just come and slowly paint over, you know, those parts. Don't overly do it, just a little, you know. You still come and pick a color there, and then you paint over there. You come still here, bigger brush, and then you come and just paint over slightly there, you know. When you look at the neck area, we want still to brighten up certain parts, just like we pick color and then you come and brighten up slowly like that. The goal is to match these colors. So every time you want to select a new color, you just press your Alt key, and you know, as you're clicking down for you to choose, in order for you to choose a color that would really do wonders, you know. Okay, let us look at this before and after and see. Before and after, before and after. You see how we have made really a big difference on this image already. So you just come and still click here, and then we try to brighten these up, you know, the sleepy eyes and a little bit. The goal is not to crush the shadows completely, no. The goal is to brighten up those areas so that somehow the skin color matches a bit, so that you edit the stress out of her. So what we are going to do, we are just going to press Ctrl E just to merge that layer down. Let me just do that again. In order for this layer to be attached to this, you just select it just like that and press Ctrl E on your keyboard just to merge it down below here. So now we're going to begin our frequency separation since we have finished matching the colors. So you come, get your lasso tool, make sure it is here at 18 or 35, in between 18 and 35, and just come and we begin working on our tonal layer. Come here at filter, say blur, and then say Gaussian blur, and we begin evening out our, you don't want to take it overboard really, just a little, because remember we are doing like we want to retain her skin tones and all that stuff. I don't want to take it overboard. Press Ctrl F to redo the same filter that you had done, just like that. Slowly, ready, like that. Yep. So we are just basically doing a quick fix of how you can do these natural light portraits for them, just like that. The goal is not to do really like a full beauty kind of retouch, but it is just a simple retouching technique for fully natural lit images. Oops, sorry. Now the reason as to why it is coming, I remember somebody we are select and it gets ready. It's because we have selected current layer, and below what you do, you just select current layer. Let us undo this. Yeah, we select current layer. When it's current layer and below, it usually turns to be, it gives you that red kind of thing. So you just come and just pick out these. So we shall use the spot healing brush, yeah, for these, to pick out these minor details and like that. I don't want to remove everything because there is a lot I want to maintain. And I'm done, I think, with the skin. I don't want to really get this tutorial so long. So the next thing we're going to do burning and dodging. The burning and dodging we are going to use the 50% gray kind of burning and dodging. But if you want the burning and dodging professionals use, you can click that link up there and watch the full burning and dodging of curve adjustment layers. But since I'm on a quick fix here, I'll just use the one of 50% gray. So what you do, you just come and create a new layer on top. We're going to name it burn. Yes, and then you come and say edit, you say fill, you come over here and say 50% gray, and then you say okay. The next thing you say is soft light. So soft light, you just come and we begin burning and dodging. So as before we do the burning and dodging, we need to know where we're burning and where we're dodging. So you just come here and create a new adjustment layer of black and white just as a help layer. So what you do, you crush the reds just a little so that it gives you demarcations of where you're going to burn and where you're going to dodge. Okay, so let me just show you. Everywhere you see that is dark, we're going to burn to kind of give that more dimension to the image. We're going to burn. Let me just create another help layer just to show you where we're going to burn and where we're going to dodge. Now, yeah, we're going to burn. We're going to burn around this area, burn around that area. Yeah, we're going to also burn around that area, just around there, a little bit of there. Now there are certain areas you really want to burn, most of your pictures. You want to burn around the edges of the face, you know, just a little bit to give the face a bit of more dimensions, you know, depending really, but usually the face tends to stand out more if you burn towards the edge. So I'm just going to come and undo this, and let us begin burning. How do you burn? You get the burn tool, you make sure it's mid-tone selected, then we reduce this to around 11, and then you protect tones of course, and then you just come and begin burning. Use a big brush, just a little, so you don't do it completely from the front, you do it from, rather when it is overly zoomed in, do it from far so that you get, you know, a proper feeling of how it would look like on computer and all that stuff. We said we burn towards the edges, not so much, don't take it overboard, just towards the edges so that you zero in on the face just a little bit to give the face a bit of more emphasis, you know, just a little bit. The good thing, you can always calm down and reduce the opacity. We are going to dodge a little bit. Yeah, dodging now is just like emphasizing highlights in the face and give the face a bit of more depth and all that. Let us put back this and we see we're going to dodge. We're going to dodge around this area and just emphasize that. Around here, around the cheekbone area. Oops, sorry. Ooh, this was a long zoom, yeah. Okay. Okay, we're going to, you know, just dodge around here, you know, around there, around every part of the face that protrudes, you really burn. So we are going to turn this to highlights and then just reduce the exposure to around 11, and then we just come and dodge just a little bit, you know. This is a quick fix, but you can always reduce the exposure even below, so that you come and build it slowly by slowly if you're not sure. I'm putting it high because I've done this for so long, so I'm somehow used to what to do. So, but if you're not very experienced, it's best you really, you know, keep it at very low. So I think I'm done with that step. The next thing we're going to do, I'm just going to do a little bit of color grading. Now, color grading, this is it is really a question of taste. I don't know how you look at color. There are two different things. There is a difference between color correction and color grading. Now, color correction is much more about coloring an image in such a way that it comes close to how natural the scene was, how we perceive it in nature. I don't know whether that makes sense. While color grading is much more of an artistic preference. I usually prefer color grading my images because as an artist, I love taking, you know, an artistic approach to certain things. So that is why I prefer using color grading, but my color grading doesn't really overly go off the natural colors, but it just remains in between there because I just love glamorous stuff. So let us go into this color grading. Now you just come and right here and we say gradient map, and we come and select here, and we're going to come and change this. Usually I love having my shadows in this kind of cyan kind of feel, just like I just select a color just below here to close to the dark, and then I say, and I come to the highlights here. Usually highlights, I love having this kind of baby pink, this, and then you say okay. So the next thing you're going to do, you're just going to come here and reduce the opacity of this adjustment layer. This just helps us suck out a little bit of that reddish color you see in there. So the next thing you come and do and say, you say color, you know, depending on how vibrant you want it, you can reduce it to, you know, any color you really want, but it just helps you give you a starting point. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to come and say curves. So I just come and pull down the shadows a little bit and then pull up the highlights a little bit so that I slightly pop it up. So I just come still in the reds here, yellow, blues. I pull the blues down to add in a bit of yellow, and then I come back here in the highlights and just pull them out a little bit more. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm now going to go here into vibrancy, and I just add a little bit of vibrancy, just, you know, just a question of taste really, you know. And now final adjustment is levels. So I just come here and I first pull out the midtones and brighten them up, and I come try crush the blacks, not crushing them to a level that they lose detail, but to that level where the blacks really look, where they pop, just like bring it back just a little bit there. And then depending on the image you're editing really, but that is how I usually do it. So I can even come here and just maybe reduce the opacity just a little bit more to bring back more warmth in the whole image. And then yeah, I guess for starters, that is a really nice start for those of you who wanted to see how I edit natural light pictures. That is a very good start for you. And that is that for today, guys. I hope to see you in my next tutorial. If you've not yet subscribed to this channel, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in my next tutorial. And adios.